So we're going to be looking at the water cycle. Now this picture you see here is probably what you're used to seeing. We have a body of water, we have the sun, and we have a cloud and some rain. And as you learn, when the sun's rays shine down on the water, eventually water evaporates, goes into the atmosphere, it will eventually condense, and then rain will form going back into the body of water. Well, this is what I like to call the baby version of the water cycle. And today we're going to focus on not your average water cycle, as I like to call it. This is the water cycle we're going to be looking at today. Now, it's definitely a lot more complex than the picture we just looked at. So let's take a look and dissect it a little bit. We are going to start with our body of water. I'm going to put a little B-O-W, body of water. Now it's important to note that because it is a cycle, it honestly doesn't matter where we start. But I like to start with the body of water. Now with our body of water, the sun's rays, they are going to beat down onto the surface of the earth and the surface of the water. Eventually water will have enough energy to be converted into water vapor. That's where we have our evaporation occurring. Now these little arrows represent the water molecules going into the atmosphere. Now once they reach a certain point, they cool down enough where they can condense. So that's this little cloud right here. Then we have something called transportation. And all that means is that the water vapor and the water molecules are moved. They eventually will form an even larger cloud, something like this. And what happens there is that it becomes so heavy that the air cannot hold any more water, and you get precipitation. So the rain is going back down onto the earth. This is much like that simple version we looked at, but things can get a little more complicated. If you take a look over here, we have condensation, the transportation, and precipitation. Now, one way that this water gets back onto the ground is just surface flow, meaning that it just falls down the surface onto the earth. We can also have other ways of water getting into the Earth's water cycle. If you take a look, right here it says snow melt runoff. Well, we have snow all over the world, and snow is frozen water. When it melts, it turns back into liquid. So that's one other way to get more water into our system. There's also a way to get water out of our system other than evaporation, and that's something called transpiration right here. And in case you can't read it, I'm just going to type out what that says. So transpiration. And what does it look like? It's a tree, and it has little lines coming off of it. That tells you that water vapor is going through the tree roots, up into the tree, and out into the atmosphere. So, that's just one more way that water gets into the atmosphere, and then it follows the same cycle. Condenses, transports, follows as rain, all kinds of the same thing happening there. One more thing I wanted to bring up was infiltration. Now think of like the army when you infiltrate. Infiltration is whenever water gets down into the groundwater. So you have surface water going into the groundwater. This groundwater can flow into our body of water we started with. And that really helps us see the completion of the water cycle. But groundwater can also go up into plants and then escape through transpiration. So this is just a brief little introduction to the water cycle, and we'll get more into depth in class next time I see you. Have a good day.